Tired of Microsoft updates hosing your RDS deployment? I've got a solution for that.
Hello, fellow RDS enthusiasts. I hope the month of February is treating you well, and I hope that General Beauregard Lee's prediction of an early spring down here in Georgia will be more accurate than Puxatawny Phil's prediction of 6 more weeks of winter. Blah! In today's video, I'm going to show you how to protect your RDS deployments from Microsoft's occasional rogue updates that seem to be slipping by their QA teams recently. I had a big Festivus rant on this topic this past December, and it definitely resonated with people. If you want to read that rant, go to my RDP Hard Twitter feed and scroll down. I go into my theories as to why Microsoft's QA department has been letting more bugs slip by, like the bug last spring that completely blew away the connection broker role on Server 2022 RDS deployments, or the one last fall that made RDP connections on Windows 11 hang until you temporarily disabled UDP. Mercifully, that last bug was just repaired in a recent Windows update. Fundamentally, the way to somewhat insulate yourself from bad updates at the application or OS level that sends your RDS deployment sideways is to create a parallel staging RDS deployment. Interestingly, Microsoft recommends this for AVD deployments too. In AVD, they call it creating a validation host pool. The difference with RDS staging deployments and AVD validation host pools, at least if you're running them in a private data center, is that it really doesn't cost you much other than allocating a little bit more CPU and memory on your Hyper-V VMware hypervisors to host them, presuming you've already got data center licensing for Windows Server OS. Yet one more area where private data center RDS beats AVD in cost. Here are my recommendations for how to set up an RDS staging deployment. First, create it in the same Windows domain as your production RDS deployment, but with these RDS VMs located in a separate OU, so you can change things like GPOs, FSLogix configurations, etc. without affecting your primary RDS deployment. If you're an MSP, you can just create a separate test tenant in its own domain with its own RDS deployment. Next, the RDS staging deployment should contain each role service you're running in your production deployment. So if you have gateways in production, install at least one gateway in the staging deployment. The same thing goes for RD Web, connection brokers, etc. One exception, however, is that you can use the same RDS licensing servers as you're using in production to service your staging deployment. Finally, in the staging deployment, you should provision at least one session host for remote apps and one session host for desktops. Once you have an RDS staging deployment built out, you can use technologies like Windows Server Update Services to push Windows and application updates out to your guinea pig servers first. If anything breaks, you'll see it first on the staging servers, and you can delay the deployment of offending updates until you have a mitigation plan in place. This is much easier than having to roll back already applied updates in production. And in many cases, like that Server 2022 update from last spring that wiped the connection broker role completely off of the servers altogether, just rolling back an update might not undo the damage that was already caused. So once you have your RDS staging deployment built, and once you have a way to apply updates to that guinea pig deployment first using Windows Server Update Services or equivalent, how do you test applied updates? Well, you can do manual testing, automated testing, or a combination of both. With manual testing, you or other users can log in through the gateway and broker of the staging deployment and start running applications on your assigned session host to see if anything goes wrong. In fact, you can incentivize some of your power users who are capable of reporting errors to you to use the staging deployment as their primary RDS farm, by wooing them with promises of higher performance, since that staging farm will have fewer users on it than your production environment. If they encounter breaking changes, they can report them and then log into the production collection instead, provided you're using a user profile solution like FSLogix, which can span multiple collections. That stands in stark contrast to user profile disks, which are tied to specific collections. In automated testing, you can use a product like our Remote Desktop Canary, which does synthetic login testing over RDP. It can be placed outside or inside your network and can test all the way through the gateway, broker, and session hosts. It can alert you if login times change beyond their average, black screens start occurring, GPOs take longer to process, FSLogix breaks, etc. You can also create login scripts for it that will launch specific programs and then observe whether or not those applications did launch properly, sending you routine emails with screenshots showing you what happened. Finally, it can build diagnostic logs so you can investigate if there are problems that are occurring at a low level in the RDP stack, such as gateway to broker handoffs, broker to session host handoffs, and the like. From my perspective, the best testing approach for your staging deployment combines both manual and automated testing. Let's now wrap up this video with the things I see that break most often in RDS deployments after upgrades. Those hotspot areas are typically black screen issues after Windows OS or application updates on session hosts. A lot of times this has to do with things like the app readiness service or other interactions between applications and the Explorer process that can cause problems. Application performance issues after updates, where an application starts using more CPU or RAM than previously budgeted for, which decreases per-user performance on your RDS hosts. I saw this with a client who updated a PDF reader application, which started using a lot more background CPU. By the way, our Remote Desktop Commander Suite product is helpful in pinpointing these performance issues before and after updates. FSLogix/UPD problems and/or problems with Windows Search. Sometimes Windows Search can interfere with user profile technologies like UPDs and FSLogix, which can prevent profiles from being unloaded and can lead to temporary profiles being created, black screens, and other problems. In other cases, there are simply standalone bugs introduced to UPDs or FSLogix after an update. So, to recap, set up a separate RDS staging deployment in the same domain, but in a different OU with the same apps installed on it as your production deployment. Then, use Windows Server Update Services or equivalent to audition application and OS updates on the RDS staging deployment servers first. For third-party application updates, install them on the staging deployment servers first. Finally, perform a combination of manual and automated login testing regularly to catch update-related problems in the staging deployment before installing those updates on your production RDS deployment.
Hi there. If you'd like me to make more of this content, please do one of the following. First, like this video and click the notification bell below to subscribe to the RDP Hard channel. Second, download my company's free Remote Desktop Commander Lite tool to help you manage sessions on your RDS and AVD farms. It's more powerful and much faster than the built-in RDS Manager. Third, consider purchasing my RDP Own book on how to secure your RDS environments. It's only $9.99 on Amazon Kindle. Fourth, start a subscription to one or more of my company's commercial RDS and AVT monitoring and management tools. We offer very affordable monthly subscriptions you can use for as little or as long as you need. I think you'll find we deliver more value than just about any other RDS monitoring tool in the marketplace. Thank you. See you on my next video.